Okay, guys, welcome to UGP. We're in Orange County. We are going to do a little bit of an interesting session today. So you guys that are familiar with my channel, I've been doing a little bit of a right-handed journey with Larry Chung at home, trying to make kind of some more relatable lesson videos. So I'm trying to basically learn from scratch how to play golf right-handed.
Awesome.
Kind of allows me to show some stuff at a slower swing speed, issues that you would have at a more of a beginner and intermediate level.
Yep.
And I think one of the more interesting topics would be, me getting into the game, taking more seriously from that side. Where do I start club-wise? So I don't have any right-handed clubs.
Right.
I've just kind of been using one of Larry's. I think it's an interesting conversation because a lot of people at this level feel like fitting might be pointless for them. Should I even bother? Should I just go buy something off the rack? Mm-hmm. And where does my technique end, kind of, or where does the benefits of that end, and how can fitting help me kind of bridge that gap? And where do you start with somebody who's just kind of getting into the game?
Where to start? I mean, traditionally you have static measurements that kind of give you an idea of where to start in terms of length and lie angle. I think of it more in terms of, what's the player's physical ability,
Gotcha.
and how can I assist him in getting into that posture right away so that they can be physical and then they can rotate properly.
Be a little bit more athletic with it, right? And I hope we can kind of remove the doubt as to, hey, I don't have to be an 8 handicap to start getting fitting. I can be someone like me that probably right-handed would shoot, 100 or 105 or something like that. Mm-hmm. And how does getting fit for that set of irons make sense to help you develop well versus making compensations with like poorly fit clubs?
Right.
And then also, how can you as the fitter sort of fit me into something that will allow me to grow with it? So nobody wants to buy a brand new set of expensive irons every year, obviously.
Right.
So we have that conversation as part of the session to see, like, what's going to work for me for a couple of years as I work on my golf swing. Okay. So right-handed. This is so far I've had 3 lessons.
Okay.
First lesson we did was to get my setup a little more solid. I tended to have my hands back. I had my upper body kind of tilted too far forward.
Yep.
So the first thing I've been doing is getting my hands a little more ahead, centering the upper body and having the hips bump a little forward.
Okay.
That's one. We worked on getting more width with the trail arm. I used to be kind of very collapsed when we first started.
Yeah.
And then lastly, I had a tendency to kind of pull the hips away and towards the target. Mm-hmm. So just trying to feel a little bit more load into the trail side. And those are just kind of the keys that we've done so far.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Contact, baby.
Not bad. Good. When you're playing lefty, what's your natural shot shape?
I play a draw lefty.
Okay.
On a natural, like my natural shot is a bit of a draw, so I tend to be 4 from the inside or so.
Oh, wow.
Left-handed.
Okay. Gotcha.
So I mean, honestly, it's not crazy dissimilar to what I'm seeing so far. I tend to be more shallow right-handed, though. I'm a little bit steeper in my left-handed swing.
Yeah.
I think mostly just because I haven't really done any follow-through work yet. I tend to get very sort of, I kind of hang back on the right-handed swing a lot. To be honest, I do it a bit with the left, but I really have a hard time just because it feels a little unnatural to get to a lead side that I'm used to that being my backswing.
Right.
So I think there's a mental hurdle there that eventually I'll get over. But
as the fitter, I want to make sure that you can create a consistent impact that shows what your body is actually creating.
Gotcha.
Okay, I'm not going to try and hide it.
Yeah.
If anything, I want to expose your flaws because now your coach can do their job.
Makes sense.
Right. If I hide everything or try to hide stuff with the club, the coach doesn't necessarily see where your game can go.
And that's what a lot of people ask at this level is like, where's the lesson end and where's the fitting begin?
Right.
And so I like that philosophy of saying, like, we're not going to fit clubs to Band-Aid swing issues.
Never.
We're going to allow you to learn the motion, learn the proper golf swing, and, not just give someone, a 6-degree upright lie angle or something to fix a slice or something like that, because that's really not going to serve them long term, is it?
Why don't we move you up into something a little longer?
Cool.
Okay. Nothing too specific in what I'm handing you. It's really just more of a reference point for me.
Something that will start to get you acquainted with like my tendencies, how I react to stuff, how I react to like shaft weight and things like that?
Correct.
Okay.
I'm really more interested in the reaction within the transitions into the downswing.
Understand, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha. So you're keeping an eye on the swing dynamics a lot more, maybe so than the
And more so right here.
Yeah.
Because the numbers really don't matter to me as much if the impact isn't what we want.
Gotcha.
Not too shabby.
That's all right, yeah. Struck those well. So I'll tend to do that at times where I'll overturn it.
Okay. So the only thing I'll say based off of what you've mentioned about what you're working on, hands are drifting back just a little bit off of center.
Gotcha.
So if we are trying to get more kind of into here, we are kind of drifting into this area.
Okay, so I'm not doing it as much as I perceive I'm doing
right.
it. Gotcha.
I'm just gonna kind of experiment with a slightly different feel here.
Okay.
Very similar in flex, but the shaft is gonna react differently to the way that you're moving.
So this is a lighter shaft for sure, obviously.
Yep.
And we've gone to a little bit more of a game improvement head with the T200.
Right, and it's just a good starting point. I mean, obviously seeing the ball striking now, maybe not as important.
Sure.
But I just want to kind of see
where
once we find that sweet spot, how that club head is gonna create ball fly for you.
Okay. Feel nice. It's feeling a little bit, so far a little bit easier to swing on that first one. Yeah, that felt really nice.
Good solid contact. So getting that ball to start a little bit more to the right.
Okay.
That's kind of the development that I want to see because so your club path has been fairly consistent so far.
Yes.
With the previous setup, that face angle was very close to 0.
Interesting.
So trying to manage that face angle to accommodate that club path, to just have it slightly more open to create a more manageable draw.
And is that something that's going on dynamically with the way this shaft is kind of in deflection? It's allowing the face to suit my timing better and not shut so easily.
So a little bit of that.
Yeah.
From my perspective, it's a little less club head awareness.
Okay.
So the way that we're managing that club head to move is through our hands. If we can quiet that and neutralize that a little bit without you or physically slowing them down.
Gotcha.
But through the feel on the golf club.
Yeah.
So that you're not just throwing the club head shut.
Gotcha.
But you're allowing your body to create the momentum. So it's rotating less. Pretty good. I think that's a great window for you. So slightly right of the center line is where we want to impact that screen.
Gotcha. Going quite a bit lighter, if I'm not mistaken, from where we started on the baseline was quite a heavy shaft, like something 25 grams heavier. There's something to a heavy club obviously assisting a person who might be outside in and getting more underneath.
Correct.
Me having the opposite issue, going lighter, it would stand to reason that I would help get me a little bit more neutral with the club path. That was one of my better ones at just 4 versus like 6.5. Is that something you would use like in a fit to kind of play with someone's path?
Absolutely. Yeah. Just because it's all about feel.
Right.
Right. We're all going to respond differently to this club.
Right.
Case in point, this is just a stepping stone along the lines that we get to the extreme other side, which would be a more counterweighted club.
Oh, okay.
As opposed to something we had previously that all the attention is down at the club head. Okay.
It's interesting. Definitely a different feel there. A little handsy. That was a pretty nice one there.
Not too bad. We like that contact for sure. There you go.
That one felt pretty good. Yeah, so those are a couple of the nicer ones I feel like I've struck.
So if we can create a feel to where you're not afraid of allowing your body to rotate and not have your hands be the defining factor of impact.
Yes.
You're going to start to see these types of shots to where you're starting the ball right of center
Okay.
and allowing the draw to come out.
Gotcha. It's thin, but that actually...
I'm not mad at it.
No, I don't mind seeing that at all.
Not mad at it.
That felt nice.
Solid strike.
Definitely felt like a better strike.
Just like that.
Felt definitely better.
Yeah, so less emphasis on the club head.
Yeah.
Without losing so much weight.
Makes sense.
Right? Like we still want to manage this kind of weight,
Yeah.
but not at the results where we're controlling the club head so much
Gotcha.
on the way
Because
down.
if it's too light, you can really just start to whip the head.
You're just looking for it.
Yeah.
The type of ball flight we're trying to cultivate
Yeah.
in correlation to your club speed,
Makes sense.
right? And that's only going to go up as your left side gets stronger and your balance is more confident.
Yeah. I made a better swing, better kind of like more neutral swing, but I think subconsciously I was hanging onto the face because I'm used to seeing it go left.
Yep. Good.
That was one of the better ones I think I've
Much
had
better.
today. Felt really nice. I like that.
Spin's coming out, which is nice.
So one thing I was going to ask you, obviously at this level, someone might look at something like a T100 and ask kind of like, isn't that too, advanced of a head for me? My question is, assuming what I know, you've gone this route because a little bit more traditional loft for my swing pattern is best to get the ball flight up in the air a bit.
Absolutely.
And less draw bias, obviously, right?
So it has nothing to do with the club head itself.
Yeah.
I just know this has more loft than the previous club.
Yeah,
I want that spin rate to go up,
definitely.
right? Distance is not my concern. That's something we're going to work on with coach, right?
Exactly, yeah. And it makes sense because I think a lot of people at this level will assume, okay, well, Matt's going to put me in like quite a game improvement iron. But in my case, if you give me something that's offset, low lofted, I'm likely to just hit extremely low hooks.
Right.
Or continue pushing my pass so far right to compensate for it. Whereas I guess this head, in talking about, fitting me as I develop, this head will kind of complement me and starting to get a little bit more on my left side, start to neutralize the path.
Right.
This will actually encourage that type of thing.
Love that.
These are some of the best feeling kind of strikes, and
Love that.
that's one of the better ones I've hit. Talk to me about this shaft choice. What do you like about that?
I didn't want the overall weight to be light, but I did want the adjustment in the swing weight to be a little bit more neutralized.
So this allows, if I'm not mistaken, the actual weight of this is about 118 or something when you get
Yeah,
you get it
I mean
built?
at the finished
In the
length
stiff?
overall, right?
Yeah.
And then again at the club head weights that we set them to,
Yes.
slightly heavier, you still get that reference, but the shaft will neutralize the swing weight a little bit.
And whereas the IO is more like 110 gram shaft, built up, it might be closer to 105. Your thought is as I develop, that might be a little bit on the light side.
The development is not going to be as long to where we can put you into something that's going to get even better over the next 6 months.
That's what I really like about this. I
Right.
think that's the question so many people have, and we kind of chatted about it earlier, is the last thing I want is for me to leave here, be super happy, put the bag in the trunk, and then drive home and go, I wonder if that will be any good for me in a year or 2 years.
Right.
Whereas now, based on our conversation, I know this is going to suit me well with the weight of it. I can still swing faster. This is still going to hold up.
Right.
And kind of the weight of the head and the sort of the shape of the head, the loft of the head, the face angle, they're going to suit what I'm trying to achieve with my swing.
Good.
Yeah, that
When you
feels
commit
really
to
good.
that,
Totally.
when you commit into here, the
huge
upper body
difference.
can do whatever it wants. Good.
It's so much better. Yeah. That
And
feels
this is
really good.
This is a great result because now, even at +5,
Yeah.
it's much easier to get that face angle back to like a +3 from +8
Yes.
than it is from like a -1 or
100%.
a 0.
Yeah. I'm much
Right.
happier seeing that type of
Yeah.
shot because that tells me really hanging on to the face was a reaction of me getting way into out. Yeah, this is really good. I can see how this is
Excellent.
really going to help me develop better because I'm starting to keep a little bit more of a face relationship that makes sense. And I think the path will start to neutralize the more confident I am that the face isn't coming in shut.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay, so great session. Thanks for that. It was really cool to kind of go. We did a lot of different extremes with shafts. We went. Obviously, the beginning was really just a baseline, very heavy, just to get you an idea of my swing tendencies.
Yep.
From there, we started to play with really weight balance, right? So we kind of went light with the Project X IO. That's light total weight, and obviously would be light in terms of the balance of the club.
Correct.
We went the other way, quite a bit heavy down at the bottom with the. What was the heaviest down at the bottom?
It was the S-taper ST.
So S-taper ST would be right down at the bottom, feel a little more weight in the club
A
head.
little bit more, yeah.
And then we went obviously the opposite direction with something that was almost kind of counterbalance. So
Yes.
playing with that weight, it kind of seemed like what you mentioned, modus being sort of in the middle of that weight balance and that swing weight gave me the best kind of balance feel overall.
Correct.
The head choice is one that I think people will find funny because it's what I play left-handed. I have
Okay.
T100s left-handed, right?
Okay.
So I like the conversation around this because it's not probably where people would assume we would have ended up. They're probably thinking, we hit a couple T200s and it was good in many ways.
Yep.
But the reason we go with this is kind of for a different type of forgiveness. The forgiveness I need is against the low left, low spinning shot.
Right.
So this club head, more loft obviously, a little bit more neutral with the offset, not so much offset, not so much left bias,
Correct.
which you would see in a game improvement iron.
It could have been any make, model, or brand. And the original reason I put this on there is because the lofts were much higher.
Right, a more traditional loft to get that spin and elevation.
Correct. And it could have been a different case. Like if our ball striking wasn't as good, this obviously wouldn't bear too much fruit.
Gotcha. If
Often.
I was really heel side or toe side.
Correct.
Because
And
I'm more thin or fat for misses. I like this choice. We talked about lie angle briefly. This was at standard to start with.
Correct.
Obviously, we have the option, maybe depending on how this goes, to flatten it a bit. Obviously, I do have a little bit of a left tendency, but for now, based on your opinion, I think it makes sense to stay at standard and see how the swing develops. Guys, let me know what you thought of the session. I'm going to have a set of matching left and right-handed irons. Not quite what I expected, but kind of an interesting, cool result. I think you did a great job of explaining why this traditional head, even though it may be a little counterintuitive for someone of my ability level, actually suited my ball flight and development quite a bit better. So, guys, thanks for watching. Lots more to come with Matt. Stay tuned for that. Leave me some comments. Let me know what you think, and we'll see you again next time.